Hello there, my name's Jason Boswell and welcome to the Technical Awareness webinar for the 26.3, which is the third quarterly release of 2026 of Core Data Discovery Risk Insights. Now this will be the last time I'll be referring to Core Data Discovery and Risk Insights because in the next version, 26.4, the product will be renamed to Data Security Platform, DSP. But yeah, that's future to come, and you may see some information about Data Security Platform. So that's basically the new name for Core Data Discovery and Risk Insights, and we'll make that change with inside the UI in the 26.4 release. Okay, so let's get on to the content of what's in this release. But before we do that, let's first of all discuss the schedule, as I always do. We were pretty much on track with this. It went through engineering, through to the demo system update, and that went on the 6th of August. And we're getting much better at getting the time frame between the demo system update and the production release updates, and on notice they all happened on the same day. So the actual cadence to get these releases out is getting much quicker. So you should, all of what I'm showing you today, you will see both in the demo system and the production system. Okay, let's go through the highlights of this release. First of all, to note that this is a SaaS only release. Remember, the releases that go onto the SLD portal for the on-premise customers and for the sovereign cloud customers, and they operate on a different schedule on the long-term release. So all these features will be in the 26.4 release, and they'll get these features at that point. The highlights include some new or enhancements to how we manage scans and manage scanning processes and manage the dataset scheduling and the management of those things. So it helps you deal, particularly we've had a lot of feedback from customers that are managing much larger volumes of data sets, and the ability to manage those scanning processes. So we've basically put some features into the product to help you do that with inside that mode. We've extended support for masking sensitive data in files, so there's more sources, more file types, and we've kind of aligned it within we had a slightly different workflow process between send mask and masking at source, so we've aligned them so they operate based on the same mode. And there's a really interesting new feature, which is in preview mode at the moment, and it's available on all of the tenants in demo, but it's possible that we can add this in the production tenants, but I definitely recommend any of the partners particularly test this out in demo mode first. And it's all about using AI to validate grammar entities. The aim is to reduce the incidence of false positives. So it's like a qualification check on the deterministic rules that we have in the process. Okay, so let's talk about these in all the details like we do. So first of all, let's talk about this AI grammar validation. So basically, this is a preview capability that's available for cloud implementations, and it's an option that's enabled once enabled at tenant level. You'll see some options, as you can see in this bottom screenshot here. You get options at the dataset level to use entity grammar validation, use Aviator AI-assisted validation. Once you have this on, you also enable it at the grammar level. So you've got this options tab here for the grammars. It's not available for all of the grammars. We kind of been selecting the ones that it makes more sense of. So the example here that you can see on the right hand side for the credit card is that you can see there's basically a document that's full of a list of numbers, and this number here 390 is actually a credit card number. It passes the deterministic rules. It meets the pattern. It passes a LUN algorithm check, the checksum. So, but clearly it's not a credit card in the context. And this is basically what this process does. It sends the entity inside the context of the words that are in close proximity, like almost like the text around that. And it then asks an LLM engine to say, does this look like a credit card or does it not look like a credit card? And it gives a response, sequence of numbers in a list. That's what it looks like. Likely not a credit card. So we're using this to identify false positives and make your identification much more accurate of the sensitive data. So this validation happens during scanning and process. So once you have this enabled, you need to hit scan. It will do this automatically. And the verdict and the reason is generated here. So we don't just shows you that we're reducing the risk over the document because it's a false positive, so it affects the processing, and it affects the output and the risk associated with this document because we've identified this as a false positive. So there's like an audit trail of what's happened on this. It's like I said, it's available for cloud implementations. I recommend have a look at this on the demonstration system. Have a look at this. Like I say, it's not available for all the grammars, and we will be looking at other grammars that we can enable going forward. I'd be interested in your feedback, particularly. Like, it's good at doing certain situations, but perhaps not good at doing other situations. So please, if you've got any feedback or where you think this has been perhaps overzealous and it actually is a real credit card and it's identified as a false positive, or it isn't a credit card and AI's missed it, we'll be really interested in your feedback because um, we can refine this, we can adjust the prompts about how we ask the LLM these questions about to validate them. So we've been doing some internal validation ourselves, but we're using this pre-release mode to get some feedback from the field. So the guys that are using the demos, that's why we've enabled it automatically on all of the demonstration tenants. So yeah, a really interesting thing. We're starting to use AI in different ways to help us increase the quality of the search results. And we've got more plans going forward about how to use AI to help you not just identify false positives, but identify different types of identity classifications of documents as well. So look for more on this going forward. We will be producing an FAQ document as we go into 26.4 that can give to customers to explain the workflow, explain how we're using LLM. And one point to note is that none of the data that we pass to the models is used to train the models. So none of the customer data is used to train any external model. So I can tell you that for certain. It's the way we use AWS Bedrock as a service. And if you have a search on AWS Bedrock, you can see about how models are used and how the data is not used to train those models. So therefore, we're not exposing any of your sensitive data inside that model for anybody else to use. But there'll be some documents in the FAQ to explain that in more detail going forward. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is Inside Connect, and to do with the agent sources and dataset management scheduling. And we've had some feedback from customers and partners that as they get more complex structures, what we had previously in terms of defining the schedules and managing those schedules wasn't working in a number of different scenarios. So we've kind of reworked that totally to give you more focus on time zone aware scheduling and flexible reoccurring options. And there's a consolidated blackout management period that goes across them all. So you can see in the details there, we've done some things to change the way you schedule create the schedule at the agent cluster level. You can see the screenshot on the right hand side as an example. And that's also basically, obviously, the scans are when it should run and the blackout is when it should not run. Then you can select the time zone for the schedule and the blackout period. So that allows you to help work in different time zones. The default time zone, I think, is set to the browser you're using. The option to run continuously with a delay has been removed. We didn't think that made a lot of sense in most cases. Um, and the blackout period configuration that was previously in the agent administration UI has now been deprecated because that feature is available through the AI, through the UI now. Okay, so please have a look at that. We've tried to account for as many different customer scenarios as we can with inside that schedule. Have a look at that. I'm sure it's definitely an improvement on what we had before, particularly if you're managing different, more complex situations. Okay, further on how you're managing the data sets, you can see on the right hand side in the screenshots now, we give you the ability to take more actions against multiple data sets at the same time. Okay, so now inside the UI in the list, there's options for checkboxes, so you can select them all, or you can select individual ones. When you select an individual one, you get inside the toolbar, rather than on the right-hand side, which is a little bit hidden, you get the options come straight up in the toolbar here about the options that you can enact. And then if you select multiple ones, you can see the options that you can enact on multiple data sets at the same time. So if you want to kick off 2 scans, you can select the 2 options and hit the scan. Okay, if you're enabling and disabling the schedule, that relates to the schedule that's already predefined. Now, to make it a bit more visual about the situation, about the data sets that perhaps need scanning, there's actually new icons have been added. You can see 2 new icons here. Okay, they will let you determine the current status of that and if grammar sets have been updated since the last time and since they've been processed. So if it's been, so this is what the I does and tells you if the process has been running. The inline cancel and retry actions have been moved to the toolbar, and the cancel and scan activities have also been used and moved, and we've now added the full path in the agent activity error details, so you can see a bit more details about what the actual full path if you've got some errors. So hopefully this will make management much easier. You can, I think, multiple select up to 500 data sets at a time, so it covers quite a wide area. Okay, let's move on. Okay, some more manage enhancements. We've expanded the way we can protect more documents. Now previously we had send masked, and then we added mask at source. Now we've added the ability to, in addition to file system and SharePoint, you can now add it to the OneDrive dataset. So you can mask files in their original OneDrive location. And when you're protecting documents, you can see the options on the right hand side. You've got more options about what to do. So particularly as we don't support all the formats. So when you're masking, you can mask in the native formats, and if they're not a native format that we support, then basically it will take no action on them. Or you can mask in the native format, and if we don't support them, fall back to using PDF. So it will mask them, but it won't do them in the native format, it'll do PDF, or you can move everything to PDF. So we have these options here. We've added more support to different text-based formats in the net. So these are the native format options. So we've added some more text-based ones. And also we've changed the workflow. So previously the send mask workflow was based on the settings that are on the grammars. But in the mask at source, we had those protection rules that you could set. So for example, you could say, maybe in the UI, I'm masking lots of different grammars, but when I'm creating a masked version of the document, I only want to do the financial data. So that we made that option available so that you can do it in send masked and mask at source. So it was a little bit confusing that you had a different workflow, so we've aligned them together. Some more further enhancements, more general enhancements. We've updated the application to use a single port for the UI. Notice here in the UI now, Yeah, there was a few different ports that needed to be open for you to use the UI. So now we've standardized on the standard SSL port. Okay. All references to extended username have been updated to content management because that's the new name of the product. And we've updated when the user sends email verification. So when the verification email can only be sent once per minute. So it can a protection feature that's been added into the product. And we've been improving the performance of the dashboards. And you'll see so that the dashboards over time are going to all move to this model. Because the dashboards at the moment were all based on basically they're all just searches that work based on the index. And when you get a very large search index, the response as you click in between the dashboards wasn't as quick as we wanted it to be. And really, when you've got a very large system, really you just want to know what the latest state of my system is. You know, whether this is what it was now or 18 minutes ago is perhaps not important when you're analyzing billions and billions of files. So what basically we do now is we run these searches on a scheduled basis internally, and then based on these saved results of these searches, we present the dashboards, and we're slowly going around all the dashboards of doing them. So we've done this for these two dashboards in this release, but they'll all get done over time. So that the most obvious way you'll see that is by this kind of pill tile here. We've got a pill button here showing you when it was last refreshed. But if you want to say, I've just done some scanning and I want to see the latest results, particularly if you're doing a demonstration, and what you can do is you can just press this refresh button and it will run this straight away. And that will rerun the queries and rerun the saved results of that query so your dashboards are up to date. As always, we do grammar updates with each release. I'm not going to read all these out, but as you can see them, and these are all specified in the release notes, but we update the grammars with each release. We've improved the performance of OCR processing. So there's a number of technical aspects, and some of them were done with inside the agent. Basically to improve the performance of OCR. OCR is quite a resource intensive process, and if you send every single document and every single image to the OCR processing, it doesn't give you the performance you're looking for. So we've been working with some customers here to improve that, and all the work we've been doing to improve that through 26.2 has been put into this release, so all the customers should be able to see the benefits of that. Note that the last one at the bottom there is we've updated the internal connection for Exchange Online to use the Graph API. Instead, it used to use EWS, and that was being deprecated by Microsoft, so we're now using the Graph API. The hope is that also by using the Graph API, it gives us some options about scanning much more information that's inside that's kind of some of the hidden folders are inside Exchange that could be particularly useful, such as chat history and things. So this base work needs to be done first before we look at those options. Just for completeness, the defects list are in the release notes. So all the defects that have been submitted through support have been addressed in there. And there's a list of API changes. So you can see particularly the ones related to scanning improvements, as we've changed that significantly with the API that's related to that has been updated. You know, we're an API first product, so if we make some functional changes in the product, they have to be made in the API as well. So that takes us to the end. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you find that useful, and I'll see you at the next release.